Hello, everybody. Welcome back to On the Come Up with KG. And as y'all see, I am by myself today. So, this is going to be officially our very first solo episode. And I don't really know, honestly, how I'm going to get through this, but I did ask you guys on Instagram what are some topics y'all would like to hear me touch on this episode. And I got some answers, but honestly, I don't know who y'all think I am. I am not Oprah Winfrey. I'm not Steve Harvey. Y'all was asking me for financial advice. I'm not a millionaire. I'm barely a thousandaire. So I'm gonna do my best though to give you guys what has worked for me. But again, take my advice with a grain of salt because I'm not a professional. But you guys also wanted to hear about my personal life, dating advice, and advice about college. Those are like the main reoccurring questions that you guys were asking about. So I'm going to start off with my personal life because I am realizing now that I kind of just jumped into doing this podcast and I didn't really give you guys a clean synopsis on who I am, what I do, where I come from, and all that good stuff. So we're going to start there. My name is KG, as y'all know. Yes, I do have a full government name that I am not going to tell you guys on this platform, but if you do know, you know. And I'm from Southern California, the Inland Empire area. If you know, again, you know, it's like an hour east, if I'm not mistaken, of LA. Um, and then I moved to college, or I moved to Louisiana for college back in 2017. I went there for 4 years at Grambling State University, and then I graduated in December with a bachelor's in political science. And now I live in Dallas, Texas. And I guess I can just go into like what my day to day looks like. In Dallas, I work in healthcare, which I know is far fetched from political science, but I do work from home. So sorry, y'all, I got really distracted. I do work from home though. And really, I just spend 90% of my time at home by myself. In a nutshell, I kid you not. We do the podcast. We're trying to stick to a schedule. So we film about once a week. We meet up for editing. We communicate virtually on the phone, via FaceTime throughout the week. That's really where all any of my extra time goes. I do have a couple of friends here that we try to hang out with throughout the week, but again, just like that whole post graduation, post college life, and everybody being busy and doing their own thing, it's like it's hard. So yeah, my days are pretty basic. Like I really stick to a strict schedule. I go to work from 9 to 5:30. I get off work. I eat. I shower. I watch TV, and I go to sleep by like 10:30, and then I wake up at 7 a.m. I do have a very, I guess, extensive morning routine that I could tell you guys about because it has quite literally changed my life. So I wake up at 7 a.m. I don't start work till 9 and I do work from home. So I can very much wake up at like 8:40 and then kind of rush, but that was not working for me. So nowadays I wake up at 7, I get up, excuse me, I get up, I do the whole morning routine, wash my face, brush my teeth, make breakfast. I try to pray for a certain amount of time throughout the morning or just read the Bible, whatever that is, meditate. I was telling my friend last night, meditating is really a game changer. And meditating is very difficult. It really is difficult to get to a place where you silence your mind. But honestly, the more that I do it, I'm realizing it's not necessarily about getting your mind to be quiet, but just kind of letting your thoughts flow without letting your thoughts flow and relinquishing control over them or not attaching any feelings to your thoughts, like just kind of letting them do their own thing. So meditating is very important to my morning routine. And then after meditating, so it's important to note too, while I'm doing all of this, I'm not using my phone. I don't check my phone until after this whole regimen is completed so that I can have time to start my day by myself. I think the clutter of the morning and like the chaos of the morning and the internet and everything that's going on is just too much. And then I work in customer service. So it's like it's looking at my phone and seeing everybody's thoughts and opinions first thing in the morning and then logging on and then trying to deal with other people. It's too much. So yes, and then dealing with all the clutter from the morning, chaos from social media, and then dealing with other people. it's not fun. So, yeah, definitely take some time for yourself in the morning, whether that's an extra hour, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever works for you. Just kind of ease your way into it. Okay, so yeah, I meditate in the morning for not that long. Honestly, okay, if you're new to meditating, there's this thing on Netflix. I wish I can remember the name of it. But it's this thing on Netflix and it basically guides you through meditation. So it'll help you get your mind focused, and then the person or the guy who's talking to you will tell you what to focus on in order to get your mind to the right space that you need to just be relaxed and let go. And I promise it works because you have the option, I think, of doing it for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. And I did the 10-minute one, but it feels like 3 minutes. Like time goes by so fast and it just really sets the tone for the whole day. So I would recommend that. But other than that, I spend a lot of time with myself already. I am an introvert, like the epitome of an introvert. I don't really mind being by myself at all. It doesn't really bother me. I am human, so I do need human interaction here and there, but for the most part, I'm pretty good. Like I spend a really large amount of time with myself. Other things that I do for fun is a podcast. um, we film once a week. We meet up to edit. We talk virtually throughout the week. We just get stuff done. Um, I write. I don't know if you guys know about my ebook on my other website, Brown Noise Collective, that is down right now because I'm just focused on the podcast right now. But I will talk a little bit more about that because somebody asked me for financial advice. And I don't really have much financial advice, but my ebook was talking about money. So I can kind of give you bits and pieces of my ebook. But I'll get into that a little bit later. Let's see what else. What else is there about my personal life? I feel like I don't really have anything too juicy. I spend a lot of time with myself. So that's really all there is to it. I'm just by myself literally 90% of the time. I go to church. Um, I meet with some girls from church every 2 weeks. That's nice. I'm trying to get back into reading. I really am a nerd at my core. I like to read, I like to write. I'm getting into streaming. I don't stream, but I like to watch streams. I don't even watch video games, or I don't play video games, but I like to watch people play video games. And I used to really be one of those people like, why would you want to do something like that? But it's kind of interesting. Some of the streamers are really entertaining. So I do that on my free time. I watch TV shows. I've been watching The Last of Us, Snowfall, Sex Life. That's pretty much it, y'all. I'm pretty straightforward. I'm pretty boring. Um, I'm very family oriented. I talk to my family a lot. Y'all know, like I mentioned before, I come from a really big family. I have 10 brothers and sisters, all from the same mom. These are all my brothers and sisters. And I talk to them pretty much daily, at least one of them on a daily basis. That's pretty much my personal life, y'all. Um, yeah, like I said, I'm a nerd. I went to school for political science, so I like literature. Not so much into politics anymore. I feel like since the pandemic, it's just all a joke. So I don't really pay attention to politics as much as I did before. But yeah, that's pretty much my personal life. Y'all also asked about my dating life, which I guess coincides with my personal life, and my dating life is non existent. I am not dating. I haven't dated in like 6 months. I don't really have dating experience. I've dated one person since I've been an adult. My first real relationship was back when I was like 17 in high school. And I remember just being completely heart shattered. I thought the world was ended when that relationship ended. But as time passes and I got older, I just wasn't really I've never really been, honestly, the type of person who is very focused on romantic relationships. I just never really, I know a lot of girls when they're younger, their whole thing is like getting married and starting a family. That was never really my main priority growing up. So dating was never really a big, huge deal to me. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. Maybe that's something I need to unpack in therapy or something. But no, I never really cared too much about dating. So I didn't really have too much dating experience. I had dated somebody exclusively for the first time in a long time just a few months ago. back in like last summer. And that whole situation was very short-lived. Like, it didn't really last long, but I did learn a lot from the situation. And I think where I'm at now is from that situation. I know exactly what I do and do not want in a partner. And honestly, now that I'm very clear about that, it's like nobody's delivering. Nobody's giving what I want. I know what I want, and it's just like it's just not worth wasting the time. Like, I don't want to deal with any more situationships. I don't want to deal with anything temporary, but also I'm not so pressed to get in a serious relationship. So it's just like I'm just kind of waiting for this unicorn of a man that I have in my imagination to appear at my front doorstep. And that's when I will go for it. But other than that, I'm not really too focused on dating. And somebody had asked for dating advice. Again, I'm not the dating professional. I don't have too much dating advice, but my one thing, I had seen something on TikTok before, and it said something along the lines, this may not be verbatim, but it said something along the lines of, if you are if you're a company that's looking to fill an immediate position, you'll hire a subpar candidate. But if you're just networking, you'll find somebody amazing. So in the terms of dating, it's like if you're dating with the intent of finding your husband, you're going to accept the bare minimum because you already have it in your mind that you want a husband, and you'll literally allow anybody to fill that position. You'll ignore the red flags and just try to categorize them because they might have potential. At that point, you're not really dating to experience people, you're dating to fulfill a position. So that's just a very unhealthy approach. I think you should date to have fun and to gain dating experience and to learn what you do and do not like in people so that when you find that person, you can kind of pick out those red flags or figure out if that's the person for you. But I don't think you should necessarily date to find that person or be so hell bent on finding that person. Like, just kind of have fun, relax. We're young. It's all right. It'll all work out. I guess that's the best dating advice I can give you. Just kind of chill out. Like, and also, another piece of dating advice is be very clear of what you want. Like, when you have that conversation with yourself and you say, okay, I want to be in a relationship. Why do you want to be in a relationship? Because I think a lot of things that I'm seeing time and time again is people think that they want to be in a relationship because of maybe social media and the cutesy things of it all, like cuddling and maybe even sex and just having that companionship. But when it gets to like the nitty gritty of actually being in a relationship, a lot of y'all really won't be ready. Like, if you're not ready to look at yourself in the mirror and hold yourself accountable and be like, damn, I'm not right all the time. Or maybe I do need to listen a little bit better. Or maybe I do need to be able to consider other people's feelings. You're not ready to be in a serious relationship. And that's okay. But you got to be able to acknowledge that, because then you just running around causing a muck. Um, but yeah, that's my dating advice. And also, just go for who you like. Like, if you have a type, no matter what other people think, whatever works for you works for you, and just go for that. That's my only real dating advice. But again, I haven't really been in a long-term relationship, so take it with a grain of salt. Um, what else did you guys ask me? You guys asked me about financial advice. Now, I ain't no Bill Gates, so I don't really have much financial advice. We're on financial advice now. But I did write an ebook on how to manifest money or manifest abundance. And whether or not you believe it or not is up to you. But this is just what has worked for me over the past year or years even. It's just not having really an attachment to money. I think so many people are obsessed with money and obsessed with the idea of money. It becomes something that's so consuming. And really, I don't really know what your belief system is, but like, God provides. Like, you're gonna get the money's gonna come. You know what I mean? Actually, my church is doing a series on money, and it's called Money Talks. And the whole basis of the series is like, God provides, and don't be so obsessed with money or the love of money, better yet, because a lot of people, I also talk about this in my ebook, a lot of people just have a very poor relationship with money where they're so obsessed with it. And that's the detriment. Like, that's what prevents people, I think, from being able to receive so much money. So what I mean by that is, like, to me, in my experience, money is gonna come. You know what I mean? Like, money has to come. Like, I don't really know how another way to put it, but it has to come. I think our culture is so obsessed with getting so much money in so little time, and we just lose ourselves and we lose our morals in the process. But if you're focused on what you need to be doing and what God needs you to be doing, the money is gonna come. That's not gonna be a problem. I feel like that's the best financial advice I can give you from a spiritual standpoint is just don't be so obsessed with money. It's not that serious. It's a piece of paper. Money is meant to be used. It's meant to be spent. It's supposed to be given. It's supposed to be taken. It's just a tool. It's okay. Don't stress yourself out about becoming a millionaire by 20. It's crazy. It's insanity. I have to sneeze. I went away. Okay, sorry. But yeah, so in my ebook, I talk a lot about like just making sure that your relationship with money is a healthy one. Don't be one of those people who think that A, money is evil or even that money is everything because neither one of those things are true. So just be somebody who like appreciates money. When you get it, you give it away. Oh my goodness, what's going on? When you get money, you give it away freely, you receive it happily, you spend it joyfully, stuff like that. Like I really feel like it's a spiritual exchange and just be mindful of what you're attached to and what you're obsessed with and what really controls your mind or your heart. Because people who care too much about money are people you probably want to stay away from. If people are willing to do anything for money, that's even jeopardizes you. So that's my best financial advice. I mean, if you look at the numbers of what I've made or what I do make and the way that I'm able to sustain my living, numbers and paper, it probably doesn't make sense. But I have a very strong relationship with God. So I just genuinely believe that He's going to provide me with whatever I need. And I just need to use the money that He provides me with gracefully. And yeah, that's all my money advice. I'm sorry. I'm not Bill Gates. I don't have anything to tell you about investing in stocks or nothing like that. I don't know. But check out my ebook on brownnoisecollective.com. That will help you get a better understanding on what I'm saying and just building a better relationship with money in general to help you clear that whole headspace and not really be so stressed and obsessed with money. You'll be okay. You're young. You got it. Um, what else? Okay. Another thing that you guys asked me about is college. College. Damn. I feel like I went to college like 30 years ago, even though I've only been out of college for like a year and some change. But my advice on college is like you just need to realize what if college is not for you, that's okay. But a lot of people are so stressed about the whole aspect. I don't know if I'm equipped to give advice for college because school itself, like academia, has always kind of been my thing. So school itself has never been a stressor for me. Like doing schoolwork was the easy part about college. So as far as that goes, it's just like just be easy on yourself. And I would say just stick to a schedule. I think maybe one of the things that made schoolwork less stressful for me was I was living off campus at one point and I was having to drive to campus. And then I had all my schedule set to where my classes were actually kind of sporadic. So I would have a couple classes in the morning and then a couple of classes in the late afternoon, early evening. So I would just make it a point not to go back to my apartment after classes, after my afternoon classes. So I would stay on campus, maybe like eat lunch or something, and then do all my homework while I was waiting for my next classes to start so that when I got back home, I didn't have to worry about it. Just kind of like find your medium in that space when it comes to schoolwork or really set a schedule as to when you're going to like sit down and get it done. Cause I know getting schoolwork done is like a stressor for a lot of people, but that really wasn't never really my problem. So I don't really have much to say about that. But as far as like personal life, just take the time to really figure out who you are and what you want to do and what you like and what you don't like and just really take advantage of the opportunity Because when you're in college, you're also in that limbo of where it's like, I'm an adult, but I'm also not an adult. And there's nobody necessarily over me and watching my every move. I'm not at my parents' house. I kind of live on my own. I do my own thing. But at the same time, you don't have real adult responsibility. So you're not really paying bills. You're not really dealing with the real stressors of being an adult, which you will realize when you graduate that life hits you like a ton of bricks. But at that point, it's just like take advantage of the opportunity to because you don't have all those stressors, you have even more time to really figure yourself out and just take advantage of that. Have fun, meet people. You have community already provided for you. You have everything you need because after college, baby, let me tell you, anybody who's graduated college will tell you that post grad depression is a very real thing, and a lot of that just stems from you losing that sense of community. Everybody's in the same area at the same time. You can literally walk to your friend's dorm or your friend's apartment. There's all these events on campus. There's all these parties on campus. Again, you don't have the real stressors of everyday life, paying bills, having all these responsibilities, paying your rent, da da da, da. Or even if you are paying rent, it's not crazy. So just take things slow, enjoy college, take it for what it is. Again, I always say that in one hand, college is to help you excel in whatever field you're going into to build a career. But at the same time, even more so for me, it's about finding your identity and building a sense of community. So just take advantage of that whole thing. That would be my best advice for college. And also just really figuring out your boundaries because I don't think I've figured out my boundaries and my hard nose till after college. And I think had I did that in college, it would have saved me a lot. But you're still a kid in college. So don't stress too much. But okay, so somebody else asked on Instagram, how does anyone find rest and renewal in these crazy, stressful times? So my thing is like, you got to figure out what works for you. What does rest mean for you? I feel like that's the first indicator. So for me personally, rest is just I mentioned this already. I'm an extreme introvert. So rest for me is just shutting off the world. Like those who are close to me know there will be days where I'm not answering the phone, I'm not answering any text messages. I'm just in my own little bubble. That's what rest looks like for me. And just not doing anything. And when I say anything, I mean anything. Anything that seems like a task to me. So driving, I hate driving. So rest to me might look like getting off work and instead of going to go drive and get something to eat, I'm gonna DoorDash, even if it's just across the street. But driving to me is another task added on to my day. And if my whole thing is rest and renewing, I'm not gonna do anything that's even a slightest bit of a burden to me. But you have to figure out what that looks like for you. If rest to you is maybe being surrounded by people that you love and indulging in good conversation, then do that. But rest looks different for everybody, and you just have to make time for rest. Like, honestly, in the society that we live in this whole rat race, capitalistic, work, work, work culture. You have to find rest. Like, even God Himself rested on the seventh day. So, rest is just as important as anything else. And you know yourself and you know your body and you know your mind better than anybody else. So you decide what rest looks like for you and how often you need rest. But you do need rest. Every single person in the world needs rest. So yeah, for me, it's just like I said, I'm just shutting off. And that might look like once a week. It could be twice a week. It could be 3 times a week. I don't let anybody except for me and my body dictate how often I'm resting, but resting is very important to me. I have a very strict sleeping schedule because resting is important to me. And I know that if I don't feel very restful or if I don't have enough rest, I'm not a good person. That's literally your body telling you need to get some rest. So just take those signs, do whatever works for you. Yeah, just take some time to figure out what rest really genuinely looks like for you and do it. Don't let anybody make you feel guilty for it, even if that means calling off of work for a day. If that means saying no to plans or whatever, just it'll be okay. Just rest. I am a huge advocate on rest. Rest as much as you need to. If you're not going to do anything else in the world, rest. Okay, so I guess another thing that I want to talk about in this episode is kind of like my healing journey or spiritual journey, and basically how I ultimately ended up here doing this. So I moved to Dallas back in 2021, like the end of 2021. And I'm gonna give you guys a little background story. This is like a testimony on how I ended up here. So I was in my last semester of college. I haven't even graduated college yet. And all my friends were graduating though, and I was rooming with one of my best friends at the time, and she was graduating. So we were gonna have to leave our apartment, our college apartment. And I didn't want to stay in my college town any longer. I had one single class to do, and I was gonna do it online. So I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm not gonna stay here. Everybody who I knew and cared about was already leaving. So I was gonna move back to California originally, but then the more I kind of thought about it, I was like, that doesn't really make sense. Like I told you guys before, I come from a really big family, and my parents had already moved to a smaller house because most of my siblings were getting older and kind of moving out. So at that time, I kind of knew there wasn't going to be any space for me. And for 4 years, I was already used to having my own space. And that was, again, like I said, me being an introvert, like that, having my own space was very, very important to my mental health. Like I wouldn't have not been able to get as far as I did had I not been able to separate myself and have all that space to myself. That was very important. So while I was contemplating going back home, I kind of had that realization like, no, I don't think it'll be the best decision for me to go back home. So I had a close friend at the time who was like, I'm going to move to Dallas. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't sound too bad. Dallas is not that far. It seems sustainable. It seems like I can do it. Mind you, no college degree, no job, barely any money, no plan. Just, I'm going to do it. Just delusional. So I was like, okay. So I just started applying to jobs, like just applying. And also simultaneously, I was applying to apartments. So applying. And then they was taking all my money. During the apartment search, you have to pay for those application fees. And they kept taking my money and then not responding or denying my applications because I didn't have a damn job. I was just all over the place, y'all. I did not know what I was doing. Don't follow my lead. So eventually, after applying, I had got a job offer. And then they wrote me an offer letter, and they had told me I was going to be making a certain amount of money. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. So they had me use that offer letter to apply to the apartment that I live in now, and I got approved. So everything just kind of worked out, and I was like, okay, so I'll be and honestly, y'all keep in mind that this all happened in a time span of like a month. So it wasn't even a long time. This was like a couple weeks. So I get approved to this apartment. I move to Dallas. Everything's all fine. I'm happy. I'm on cloud nine. I'm like, yeah, I'm a boss. I got my own apartment. I got a big girl job. I don't even got a college degree yet. So I'm just feeling myself. And then I started the job. Oh my gosh. I started the job, y'all. I went to the job. Y'all, let me tell y'all something. If you are applying to jobs on those job sites like Indeed, LinkedIn, please be careful. There are so many scammers and scheming people on there. Basically, what they had approved me for was some pyramid scheme. Like, y'all know, if you from Southern California, you know about Primerica. It was like one of those. So anyway, I get there. They put me in a car with some random people who I don't know, send me like an hour out. And look, I don't want to knock anybody's hustle. Keep that in mind. But you know those people who stand in front of Walmart or at Walmart or whatever, and they collect the donations. I even think that's a scam, honestly, but they collect the donations. That's what the job was. So I go, and mind you, I'm like an hour away. I had just moved to Dallas. It's hot. It's like summer. It's like 80 degrees. I'm burnt. I'm pissed. Like I'm livid. So we go and we do that. And I remember the girl I was working with, she was such a sweet girl. She was like telling me how it works, right? Because I'm asking questions. I'm like, okay, this is not what I thought I signed up for. So I'm trying to get some answers out of her. And she's basically telling me like, yeah, once you sign up this amount of people, then you level up, and then you got to sign up more people than you. I'm like, oh, hell nah. Like they got me. And then I asked her how much we get paid. Yeah, I was sick. That day, we got back to the office or whatever, and the boss or whoever was running it was asking me like, "Oh, how did you like it?" And I told him that day, I said, "I'm not coming back." So I'm not coming back. And I didn't. I never went back. And then I didn't have a job. So this all happened in early August. So mind y'all, I just signed a lease. I just moved to a whole new city, don't have a college degree, don't have nothing. And I quit my job. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I wasn't even really panicking. Honestly, I don't remember panicking. I was just like, whatever. Like, I just knew I wasn't staying at that job. I don't really care what anybody says. I was not doing it. So I was just like figuring it out. And then as my savings started to get lower, I'm like, dang, what do I do? And at the time, it was still, we were still fresh coming out of the pandemic. So they were offering a lot of like government assistant programs. So at that time, I had applied for like a rent relief program to help pay my rent. Cause again, I don't have a job. I was having a really hard time finding a job. And then I applied for that. And then I had applied to the job that I currently work at, and I ended up getting the job, obviously. And but then they weren't gonna have me start for like a month and some change, or almost 2 months. And by then I was like I said, like down to my last couple of dollars. So I'm like, okay, something's gotta shake. But I had forgot that I applied to the rent relief program, and I had started actually working at my job. And I think maybe like only a couple weeks after I started working there, I got an email from the rent relief program, and they were asking me to provide additional paperwork. But at that time, I'm like, I'm already working. I really was just lazy. I didn't really feel like providing the paperwork, so I just ignored it. So some more time passes, and again, this is probably within the month that I started working on my job. They approved me for the rent relief program, so they ended up paying my rent for like 3 months. And then I had started working. So I was able to save all, basically, they were paying my rent and my electricity. So I was pretty much able to save all the money, almost all the money I was making for my job, for my new full-time job, for up to 3 months. So that put me like back ahead. And I'm telling y'all, and that's why I'm saying, if y'all go back and read my ebook, or what I was saying earlier about money and not being so attached to money, because I could have easily just been stressed out and like upset. I could have done anything for money. Like I'm telling you, I had little to nothing. I could have been so desperate and really put myself in positions to jeopardize my morals and my belief system in order to get money, but I didn't, thank God. And look what happened. I got my rent and my electricity paid for 3 months. I was able to save crazy amounts of money in that time period, and I was just having the time of my life. And so because of all that, like because of that chain of events, I was like on a high, but it wasn't really, I wouldn't say it was really God or not God, but it wasn't really Jesus where my focus was. Like I was like, okay, it was kind of on this whole spirituality kick, like this new age spirituality kick, like the universe is blessing me, whatever you want to believe. So that was my whole thing. And it was just like, it kind of just changed the trajectory of my thought process, because honestly, before that, I was a very pessimistic person. I just didn't really believe that things worked out in my favor. I was just like very introverted, very like negative thinking. But because all that had happened, I was just like, oh yeah, because, and I always related it back to the fact that when all that was going on, I wasn't really stressed. Like I can't really tell you that I was just freaking out. I kind of just knew somehow, some way it was gonna work itself out. So yeah, that I was just on that like whole high of like, okay, but I was still doing things that I don't do now. Like I was still going out on a consistent basis. I was still drinking all the time. I was still hanging out with people who were not good for me whatsoever. Like people who were just very bad for me, manipulating me, taking advantage of me, all that good stuff. Like I was just not, I thought I knew it all, and I thought I was like on this whole new age spiritual awakening kick, but I was still doing shit that was not good for me. So really I wasn't. But yeah, so that whole thing was happening. Like everything was just working out in my favor. So it felt like, and then eventually I got to a point to where none of those things were sustainable anymore. I just stopped liking to go out as much. I just stopped liking to participate in certain conversations that I was participating in. I just stopped liking to talk to certain people. I just felt like, I guess the best way I can put it is I was just shedding who I was at one point, and it was a brand new me. Even after I had already thought I had a spiritual awakening. So I'm like, okay, It was like God was like, oh, you thought that was it? Like, let me show you something. So that was just like a whole new thing. So towards the end of last year, it's like I'm losing friendships. I'm just losing everything. Like it felt like nothing was good enough for me anymore. Like the job that I was praying for and hoping for so that I can be able to afford my apartment, that was making me miserable. Again, indulging in certain conversations with the people who I were friends with at the time was making me miserable. The situationships and the type of guys I was entertaining was making me miserable. Like nothing was making me happy anymore. So I remember this is back in like October. I had got into the relationship that I was telling y'all about earlier. It was a very short-lived relationship, but for the most part, it was a very healthy relationship, probably the healthiest relationship I've ever been in my life. It was a very healthy situation, but again, I was unhappy in like a lot of other areas of my life. So I remember, and if you're a Christian, you know that this prayer I remember I was at work one day and I was just like losing my marbles. And I had said that prayer, like, God, I'm ready. Like, whatever you want me to do, I'm ready to do it. At this point, I relinquished control. You have it. You got it. I'm ready. Whatever you need to remove, remove it. Whoever you need to remove it. I'm done. Like, I can't keep living like this. Y'all, the next day, my man broke up with me. And it's funny now, but back then it was not funny. Like back when it happened, it was not funny. But for real, like the next day we broke up. In the next like following weeks, the people who I was closest with, we just kind of like our relationships just started kind of fizzling out. And it was just like I was stripped. Like it was like I was just naked. Like there's nothing no more. And I was just like for a minute it was like this tug of war because it's like, okay, this is what I asked for, this is what I need to do, but at the same time it was like that type of loneliness is for a lot of people. Lucky me, like I said this a million times, I feel like it's getting corny, but I really am an introverted nature, so for the most part it wasn't really like the worst thing, but I know for a lot of people that shit is tough. Like, but it was one of those things where I feel like God had to remove so many things from my life and so many people from my life where I had no choice but to seek him out. Like literally, I had no other choice but to seek him out. It was literally just me and him. And so that's where it was. And then I just started like reading my Bible more, going to therapy, going to church, like seeking him out in the fullest extent. And then being okay with being by myself or being okay with being with him and just really giving him full control and realizing, okay, all those things that I let go of are going to be replaced with things that are even greater and are more in alignment for what he wants me to be doing in this lifetime. But that was tough. Like I remember there was one point where I was just talking to God. I'm like, y'all, I was telling him like, okay, I did everything you wanted me to do. I ain't got no man. I ain't got no friends. I ain't got nothing. Like it's just me and you. And I'm like, what else do you want from me? And I don't see anything. Like I don't see anything being produced in this time. And I was just really getting frustrated. And that was just, I guess, a very tough conversation. But I guess it's healthy. Like, there are going to be certain points in time where you kind of get mad at God. And you got to tell him, like, what you got going on. But now, I'm in a really good place. Like, I feel like I have, even with the small amount of people that I do have in my life, they're really quality people and quality over quantity always. So I have a small group of really good people in my life. I'm able to pour into them. They're able to pour into me. I'm able to participate in conversations that are more fulfilling for me. And also, I guess now in this space, I'm realizing that for a very long time, I used the whole thing of me being shy or me being introverted as a way for me to just play small and just hide in the background. But it was really just me being insecure. And I feel like now with me seeking God out, I got my confidence back, which is how I'm sitting here talking to y'all with this big ass light in my face and this big lens and having a conversation, because me a year ago or even 2 years ago, I never would have been able to do this. So for a long time, I was just playing small and not doing what I was supposed to be doing or not doing what I really had the potential to do the whole time. And it's crazy because a lot of y'all who are listening are from my hometown and y'all have been the biggest supporters. Like y'all have been the ones who have told me that y'all have been the ones who have been telling me that this is something that you guys could have seen me doing back when I was like 10 years old, which I could have never seen me doing something like that. But it's just so crazy that when I still had that innocence before the world was able to taint me, that y'all seen that potential in me. And now it's like a full circle moment. Now that I've gone through all these life lessons and made full circle and come back to who I was created to be, we're here. So yeah, that's how I ended up here. It's like that whole thing is like spirituality and new age and the universe. I feel like I don't really feel like there's nothing wrong with it. Whatever you believe. But I feel like that was definitely my foot in the door to refinding Jesus. And now I'm here. So now y'all know a little bit about my background and how I ended up here and why I'm doing this podcast. And I hope that something in that story inspires you to just relinquish control and give it to God and allow Him to remind you who you are. Because if you're trying to figure out who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, the only answer is God. He created you. If you want to figure out who you are, it only makes the most sense to seek out the person who designed you, right? So, but yeah, you guys, I know you guys are probably expecting a lot more conversation out of me and a lot more insight, but I'm not a professional on any of these things. I'm just trying to share with you guys my personal experience, and also I'm growing as a person and as a podcast host. So you guys will see that growth throughout. And one day we'll all look back at this solo episode and be like, look how far she has came. That's my advice. That's all I really have to say for this episode. But you guys join us for next week's episode of On the Come Up with KG.